Hello, welcome to the Craft House Magic YouTube channel. Today I'm going to take you around Ikea and look at all the sort of current storage ideas for the craft room. So we went to the Ikea at Wednesbury in here, Birmingham, and this is quite a big Ikea. I really like visiting this one. There's a couple of floors where you get to see the things in situ, and then there's like an area where you can actually purchase things from. So this is the area where there's lots of displays, and the first thing I saw was this basket. Now I thought this would be fantastic for storing sort of crocheted blankets, quilts, or actually yarn storage as well. You could have your stash on show and use it as a table. How brilliant is that? They had this in a couple of different colours, I think. Here's the sort of grey one, and you can see that they've used it for towel storage here. But you've got lots of possibilities of different storage in your craft room, or in your sort of lounge or extended craft room. They also had these different units where you could store yarn, for example, where you didn't want it to be sort of exposed, so it's sort of sealed away in a cupboard. There was a few different options of those. I particularly liked this one, but it was quite expensive, £394, but a really nice investment to have your sort of yarn or fabric store on show. They'd got a version of the Kallax units with the glass doors in, where you could actually see all your bits and bobs inside, which I really liked as well, with a glass shelf. So you buy the Kallax unit and then you can add the different sort of doors and drawers and shelves in there that you want. There's some different examples. There's a sort of cross where you can put sort of yarn or bits and bobs in 4 different areas rather than having just one box area. There was wicker ones, there was just the box standard ones, which I have in my craft room, which you can pop all your sort of yarn in and keep them all tucked away, all nice and neat. So there was also these filing cabinets, which I thought might be quite useful for storing bits and bobs, bits of crafts, even paper crafts as well, with multiple drawers in, just a little storage area if you're looking to add some drawers to your craft room. And then I've gone on to some sort of small storage. Ikea are absolutely brilliant for these little tubs for putting bits and bobs in, and they're brilliant for sort of separating things like needles, all sorts of bits and bobs in your drawers. And I like these ones because they've got lids, which sort of tidies everything up a little bit. They've got a whole host of baskets, which I thought was really good. You could arrange some little bits of yarn stash in there, little minis that are left over. And I also thought these jars would be really good for that as well. I've actually got a jar on one of my shelves, which isn't the same as one of these, which I've got some little minis on display. I then saw these plate racks. I thought they would be really good to actually store your quilting rulers, so that you've got them all on sort of display so you can get to them really easily. So that's a sort of cheap option for displaying your rulers. They had a whole host of little baskets like this as well, and I thought these were really nice because they've got little coloured sections where the fabric was wrapped around the rope. So those are a nice little option to have some small storage on your craft room table. They had some big baskets. These are sort of washing baskets really, but if you've got a lot of knitting projects, you could put all your knitting projects in a big basket in the lounge, for instance. I love these. They're very, very inexpensive really, but they're sort of dividers for drawers. I've got them to store my clothes in, but I also use them for storing fat quarters in my craft room. So here's an example of how I've used them. I've used them to pop some little fat quarters, and they line up really nicely, and you can actually grab that tray out to actually sort through them rather than being directly in the drawer. So I love using those. I'll leave a link to the actual drawer units in the description bar down below as well, but I got them from Ikea. These are some baskets. I've got a couple of these at home for little knitting projects. Love these baskets. I use them for project sort of baskets sometimes if I've got a big project, and I've seen people put plants in them as well, which look really nice. And you can fold the top down, so actually you can use them as a basket as well. Saw these this time. I didn't purchase it because I completely forgot after I saw this on display, but I thought that would be lovely to put yarn storage in as well. These trays, I've seen examples of them in the sort of wider drawer units that they sell at Ikea, so that would be a good storage option. They've got some really nice wooden little boxes that you could also pop fat quarters in and all different bits and bobs. And they sell a whole host of different trays as well, which I haven't shown much of here. They've got like a box that's like a craft box, which you could use as a sewing box or a knitting box or crochet. And I love these. I haven't seen these before. Like a little tray basket, which you could put your current project in. They were only £10, which was really good. These are really cute little stackable boxes with little compartments in, with a little cork bit at the top, which I thought was really interesting as well. I've not seen those before. They did different larger versions of the basket, which I thought were really handy as well. There was a whole host of other different basket type things, so you've really got a choice there. And you just had a glimpse of my son rearranging the display. They had larger boxes. Oh, and here we are. We go on to the sort of rail-based storage. This was in the sort of craft area and general storage, but these ones here were under the sort of kitchen area, which I think are fantastic. I've got a version of these in my craft room, and I use them to hang all sorts of bits and bobs, which I will show you in a minute, but it is one of the kitchen versions. This is one of the newer ones that I hadn't seen before. They've got little sort of shelf units as part of it for little tiny jars to put herbs in, but you could of course put buttons, etc. This is my craft room. This is the version that I've got. I bought mine quite a few years ago, so I don't know if they've got exactly the same thing. I'll have a look and I'll try and link that in the description bar. But I've got all my scissors and rotary cutters, and I've got another one closer to my machines with like a tray with all my pin cushions in. And then the other side of my craft room, I've got these bags that I've made. These are made by Beth Pattern, and I think they're called pods of some sort, but I'll leave those in the description bar as well. But they're really good to hang up. They'd also got loads of storage for sort of wardrobes, and I have got these in my wardrobe where I store all my shawls, which I think is a really good space. I've got them rolled up and then popped in these little compartments, and I find that a really good use of space for storing shawls, because I have got a lot of shawls. I must have at least 100, and that is the exact one that I've got, called Skubb. And here we go on to the trolleys as well. These are ideal for putting bits and bobs in that you need to sort of transport around your craft room. I've got one that is one of the ones that are £35 up the top shelf here. I've got the white one up here, which is £35. I really find it really useful putting all my packing materials in, and stitch markers, etc. And I've got some yarn and little extra minis that I put in my parcels. And it just means that I've got everything all in one place so that it doesn't clutter up the worktop. At the back there, I also pin some bags where I put my rubbish into different places, so that's an ideal thing. I should make some fabric ones really to make it look a bit prettier, but it's practical. These are really interesting because they are shelves, but you can actually attach them to a tabletop, so that's a good use of space if you're restricted to being able to put shelves up. These I thought would be really good for hanging sort of quilts or blankets against the wall, and they were actually in the sort of potted plant area, so but I thought they'd be a nice storage solution as well. These are drawers, which are a little bit like trolleys really, but they'd be really good for putting your bits and bobs in. And you can see my son Jensen approves. He's moving the drawers there, one that's been left as an extra on the top. And in the bathroom section, they've got these little shelves, which I thought were good if you're looking for an inexpensive version of something to put your crafty bits and bobs in the craft room. One of my favourite things in Ikea is the pegboards that they've got, and they've got all sorts of different storage solutions that you can hang on these pegboards. I love these baskets, and actually that's a new addition to my craft room that I shall show you in a second. This shows all the examples that they've got in the shop, so not just craft room, obviously you could use them in sort of kitchens or workshops. I love these little plastic buckets. They slot into a little metal rack at the top, and you can put your different bits and bobs. This is the same range, it's just a little pot that you can hang on to your pegboard and put your little pens and bits and bobs in as well. You can see that they can use them for the garden, and this is actually my craft room where I've got all my bits and bobs hanged up. So you can see I like to store all the different colour threads that I used most right next to my sewing machine. I have a place where I put my notebook in a little basket, and then I've got a place to put pokey tools for doing my sewing. And I did see that they got these transportable pegboards, which I thought was a fantastic idea. I hadn't ever seen them before, and I thought it was brilliant because you could have one that you could carry around to different areas, so tools that you use quite regularly, and I thought that was quite good for £19. This little drawer unit, I've got one similar to this, and I use it for all different buttons and different pins and bits and bobs, and that one was actually painted up, so you could see you could personalise it. And here I've shown the sort of sewing box again, but you could see actually the inside compartments, so you can see it a little bit more closely. I did show it earlier on in the video, but there's so many ideas for craft storage at IKEA. I do love having a little bit of a look round. Plenty of things to pick up to make your storage in your craft room a little bit more organised. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you'd like to see more, and I shall see you in the next video. If you'd like to see a more detailed tour of my craft room, watch this space because I'm hoping to get one of those done soon. So thanks for watching. Bye.